Welcome to the Explainer. So you're planning a trip to Japan in 2026? Fantastic. But you're going to want to listen up because some pretty huge changes are coming down the line that are going to affect everything from your budget to how you shop. In this Explainer, we are breaking down exactly what's different and, more importantly, how you can get ready for it.
We're going to walk through this just like you'd experience it on your actual trip. We'll start with the planning phase at home. Then we'll cover what happens when you hit the airport, the massive changes coming to shopping, what to expect when you check into your hotel, and finally, we'll look at the big picture, why all this is happening right now. Okay, let's dive in.
First things first, planning your trip. And let me just say, if you've got your eye on 2026, you have picked an amazing year. The way the calendar falls is creating some really rare opportunities for an incredible vacation.
So, what's the big deal? Well, the stars have aligned, so to speak, to create these incredible long holiday stretches. You've got your classic Golden Week in May, a potentially massive Obon holiday in August, and then, get this, for the first time in 11 years, a 5-day Silver Week is happening in September.
Now here's the real pro tip, the game changer. For Golden Week, Obon, and that super rare Silver Week, if you just strategically use a couple of your own vacation days, you can turn these breaks into massive 9-day mega trips. I mean, that's a serious amount of time to really explore. Okay, but maybe you're not trying to aim for those big holiday windows. Maybe you're dreaming of that classic spring trip. And a spring trip to Japan really means one thing, right? The cherry blossoms. Look, timing is absolutely everything when it comes to the Sakura. So here's a look at the early predictions for 2026. You can see how places like Tokyo and Fukuoka will likely see blooms in mid to late March. But if you're headed way up north to Sapporo, you're looking at late April, even early May. Think of this as your cheat sheet for planning that perfect Hanami picnic.
All right, so your trip is planned, tickets are booked. Awesome. Now let's talk about the moment you actually land. The whole airport experience is getting a serious makeover in 2026. And it's a bit of good news for when you arrive, and maybe some less good news for your wallet when you leave.
Yeah, if you've ever flown into Narita or Kansai, you know those immigration lines can be just brutal. I mean, they can feel endless. But what if I told you there's a way you could potentially save up to an hour of that waiting? For 2026, there's a new fast-track method you really need to know about. Okay, here's how it works. It's basically a two-step combo. First, before you even leave home, you need to get your QR code from the Visit Japan web service. Got it? Good. Then, once you land, you'll register your face with the Face Express biometric system right there at the airport. You do those two things, and bam, you get to use the automated facial recognition gates and just breeze right through. So, you're going to save a bunch of time arriving, which is great, but you are going to be paying more when you leave. Starting July 1st, 2026, Japan's departure tax, the one that's automatically baked into your flight ticket, is tripling. It's jumping from 1,000 yen all the way up to 3,000 yen. So definitely something to factor into your budget. Okay, you've made it through the airport, you're in the country, and it is time to do some shopping. Now, we need you to really pay attention here because this is probably the single biggest, most important change for tourists in 2026. The entire tax-free shopping system is getting a complete and total overhaul. Yeah, they are completely flipping the script on this. You know how for years you'd show your passport and pay the tax-free price right there at the register? Well, starting November 1st, 2026, that's over. You will now pay the full price, with tax included, and then you'll have to go through the process of claiming a refund for that tax when you're at the airport ready to fly home. Okay, so what does this actually mean for you? Well, it's kind of a trade-off. The good news, no more of those annoying sealed bags. You can actually use that new face cream or wear that new shirt right away. And the confusing rules about general goods versus consumables, gone. The spending cap, also gone. But, and I cannot stress this enough, you must carry your physical original passport. A picture of it on your phone is not going to cut it. Okay, let's move on to your accommodation. When you're booking your hotel, there's this small, kind of sneaky little cost that's becoming more and more common. And it's something that often catches travelers by surprise because it is almost never included in your upfront booking price. Yeah, picture this. You've booked your hotel online, paid for it all in advance. You think you're totally set. But then, when you go to check out, they hand you a final bill with this small extra charge on it. So, what is it? It's the accommodation tax, or shuku hakazai. Now, This isn't a national tax. It's a very local thing that individual cities and prefectures are starting to implement to help fund tourism initiatives. It's usually charged per person, per night, and you pay it directly to the hotel.
And you should know this is becoming way more widespread. It's already a thing in major hubs like Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto, and more cities are joining the list all the time. Now, it's usually not a huge amount, but it is an extra cost you need to be aware of when you're making your budget. So you're probably thinking, okay, why is all of this happening now? The higher departure tax, the new shopping rules, these local accommodation taxes, what's the deal? Well, it all really ties back to one single massive challenge that Japan, like a lot of popular places, is facing right now: over-tourism. Yeah, there's this growing sentiment in some local communities, and one Reddit user really just hit the nail on the head. They said, tourism is too cheap, so everyone does it, not because they are really interested. It perfectly captures this feeling that the sheer volume of visitors is straining local resources, and these new policies are basically an attempt to get a handle on it. And this whole situation has fueled a ton of speculation online about a much more controversial idea, something you may have heard of called dual pricing, the idea that tourists would be charged more than locals for the same thing. So let's just clear this up right now. The reality is there is absolutely no national government-mandated policy to force businesses to charge tourists more. That's just a rumor. Now, could some private businesses choose to offer a local discount to residents who can show proof of address? Sure, but that's an individual business making a choice, not a widespread government-enforced rule. When you put all of these 2026 changes together, a really clear pattern starts to emerge. This isn't just about making travel more expensive. It's a strategic effort to try and build a more sustainable tourism model for the long haul. So the real question to think about is, are these changes simply the necessary cost of ensuring that Japan remains an absolutely incredible place to visit for decades to come?